Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I offer an update on the case of Sarah Boone, including her 58-page letter to the court? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Sarah Boone was born on October 10, 1977, and lived in Winter Park, Florida. This is about 6 miles northeast of Orlando. Sarah was involved in a tumultuous romantic relationship with a man named George Torres Jr. He was a divorced father of 3 who found himself unable or unwilling to maintain steady employment. The couple lived in the Vista at Winter Park apartment complex on the 4700 block of France Lane. In July 2018, the couple was arrested after allegedly experiencing a domestic violence incident. Sarah claimed that George dragged her upstairs and kicked her in the face after she talked to another man at a bar. George had a different story. He said that Sarah started the fight by attempting to strangle him. He only struck her in self-defense. Unable to figure out what happened, the police dropped all the charges. In 2019, the couple's situation did not improve. George was arrested and charged with battery on 3 occasions. He ended up on probation. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On the morning of February 24, 2020, at around 12:50 p.m., Sarah Boone called her ex-husband. 10 minutes later, he arrived at her apartment and advised her to call 911, which she did. Sarah told the dispatcher, "My boyfriend is dead." She was referring to George Torres. When the police arrived, they confirmed Sarah's suspicion. George was in fact dead. He had sustained damage to his lip, bruises on his shoulder and head, and scratches on his back. It was later determined that he died from positional asphyxiation. Sarah unwisely agreed to talk to the police. Here's what she told them. On the evening of February 23, 2020, the day before Sarah called 911, she and George were painting, assembling puzzles, and drinking Chardonnay. To continue the fun evening, they decided to play the game hide and seek. Sarah said that she hid in the upstairs shower, but George failed to locate her. At this point, they thought it would be humorous to have George climb inside a suitcase. Sarah zipped him into the suitcase. She wasn't worried about his safety because he was able to get 2 of his fingers outside the suitcase. Sarah believed he could unzip himself. At this point in their exciting evening, Sarah decided to go upstairs and get in bed. It didn't take her long to fall asleep. George was still in the suitcase. The next morning, Sarah remained upstairs after waking up, believing that George was downstairs using his laptop to look for employment. When she made her way downstairs later, she found George's dead body in the suitcase. The police asked for permission to search Sarah's cell phone, which she granted. They found 2 videos containing incriminating evidence against Sarah. The first video started at 11:12 p.m. on February 23 and lasted for about 2 minutes. It featured Sarah video recording the suitcase containing George. He was clearly trapped inside. Sarah was having a discussion with him. He was calling out her name, Sarah. She responded by saying, "That's my name, don't wear it out." He then said, "I can't blanking breathe, seriously?" Sarah responded, "Yeah, that's what you do when you choke me." George repeated his claim about not being able to breathe. Sarah responded, "That's on you." George repeated the claim again. Sarah responded, "That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." After George made the same complaint once again, Sarah said, "You should probably shut the blank up." The second video started at 11:23 p.m. on February 23 and lasted 22 seconds. In this video, the suitcase was flipped over and moved a few feet from where it was in the first video. George could be heard calling out Sarah's name repeatedly. At the police station, Sarah was questioned about the videos. She claimed that she didn't remember recording them, but she acknowledged that the videos didn't look too good for her. When asked about the injuries that George had sustained, Sarah denied causing them and suggested that she did not fight with George around the time he died. She stated that George fell off her son's bike, and he was notorious for running into walls and the hall tree. As far as the scratches on George's body, Sarah claimed that they were sustained during sex. The police spoke to a neighbor who heard a loud noise coming from Sarah's apartment late on February 23. It sounded like something fell down the stairs. On February 25, 2020, Sarah was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Over the course of the next 4 years, she appeared to be very unhappy with her attorney situation. In March 2020, her first attorney was granted permission to withdraw after Sarah hired a private attorney. So this attorney was her second attorney. Attorney number 2 was permitted to withdraw in May 2022 after citing irreconcilable differences. According to the attorney, the relationship with Sarah had become adversarial. The court appointed a public defender, attorney number 3. That attorney was permitted to withdraw in June 2022 due to a conflict. Another public defender was assigned, attorney number 4. That same month, this attorney was permitted to withdraw, and a 5th attorney was assigned. Attorney number 5 was permitted to withdraw in July 2022, and attorney number 6 took over the case. He made it all the way to December 2022 when he made a motion to withdraw. He said that Sarah was trying to call him 5 to 10 times a day. Attorney number 6 did not have the same luck as the other attorneys as far as getting away from Sarah. The motion was denied. In August 2023, attorney number 6 once again moved to withdraw. He said that there were irreconcilable differences. The motion was granted in September 2023. Attorney number 7 was assigned, and Sarah received a stern message from the court. She was warned about having unrealistic expectations and reminded that she could always retain a private attorney. In February 2024, 6 months after being assigned to Sarah's case, attorney number 7 moved to withdraw. I doubt anybody was surprised at this point. The attorney indicated there were irreconcilable differences, ethical considerations, disagreements about legal strategy, and Sarah was adopting non-viable legal positions. She was simply unreasonable. The motion was granted, and attorney number 8 was assigned. On June 7, 2024, Sarah wrote a 58-page letter to the court containing many complaints. A status hearing was held. Attorney number 8 indicated that she and Sarah had disagreements, and Sarah incorrectly attached importance to various inconsequential issues. 4 days later, attorney number 8 moved to withdraw. On June 28, 2024, the motion was granted. Furthermore, the court found that Sarah Boone forfeited her right to court-appointed counsel. Her trial date was set for October 7, 2024. The judge indicated that Sarah's case would not be continued unless there was an extraordinarily good cause, which would not include retention of counsel by Sarah. Barring some type of unexpected circumstance, it appears as though Sarah will be a pro se defendant. Pro se is derived from Latin and means for oneself or on one's own behalf. Sarah will be functioning as her own attorney, which will result in precarious presentation, vexatious verbalization, and hilarious humiliation. Now moving to my analysis. Here is a summary of the 58-page letter that Sarah wrote to the judge on June 7, 2024. Sarah starts off by asking a series of questions. For example, why can't I have a bond, have access to evidence, be listened to, be respected, and be treated fairly? She was mad that information about her case was online, and the public knew details about the case before she did. True crime experts think they know what really happened and what will happen in the future. Sarah claimed that her attorney would not give her an honest answer and kept saying things like, I'm putting this to rest, that's not necessary, and I'm not having this conversation with you. Sarah believed that her attorney and all the world thought her case was already over, like she had already been convicted. She was upset by people publicly commenting on her case, calling them racketeers, mindless lemmings, and just altogether mean people using their freedom of speech. She put the words freedom of speech in quotes. I'm not convinced she knows how to properly use quotation marks. Sarah was upset by the one-sided finger-pointing, corruption, and malpractice being directed at her because she fearlessly challenged the status quo. She continued by revealing how she was upset with her attorney, calling her unprofessional, hostile, unconcerned, condescending, offensive, and unwelcoming. Sarah declared her innocence by stating, quote, I am not a murderer, unquote. After this, Sarah wrote many more pages of complaints about her attorney, claimed that she did not fire any of her attorneys, and demanded the highest equal standards. She wanted to have the absolute best outcome in her preposterous and mismanaged case. Sarah did not seem happy with the idea of representing herself, declaring that was not an option. She stated, quote, "I refuse to be moved in wanting respect, no matter who everyone thinks I am," unquote. After incorrectly declaring, "I am not the problem," Sarah copied a large quantity of words from the Florida Rules of Criminal Procedure. She also copied the Declaration of Independence, the Florida Constitution, and several definitions of legal terms, including attorney-client privilege, attorney misconduct, duress, habeas corpus, and legal ethics. Apparently, Sarah is a popular person in prison. She copied a map of the United States showing how she received correspondence from many different locations. Sarah went on to claim that she has not reviewed all the details of her case that everybody in the world has access to. She then defined several terms like broadcast, erroneous, taint, motive, oppression, prejudgment, unfair, and due process. After the 58-page letter, Sarah followed up with a 5-page letter. Essentially, this letter indicated that Sarah was trying to understand how and when she could defend herself. This brings me to the question, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Sarah Boone is self-centered, grandiose, impulsive, irrational, irresponsible, sadistic, vindictive, petty, immature, unrealistic, antagonistic, angry, disrespectful, cold, and callous. She also has a sense of entitlement and is exceedingly creepy. In my opinion, the evidence against Sarah is very convincing. She has almost no chance of winning at trial. It appeared as though a battered woman syndrome defense was being considered, but the sadistic nature of the homicide makes that defense challenging. Sarah's best move is to look for a plea deal where she has a chance of getting out of prison someday. When the various attorneys who represented Sarah discussed her terrible situation, she refused to acknowledge reality. She is in a state of denial and keeps suggesting ridiculous defense strategies which have no hope of succeeding. Sarah is playing for a complete win, not just a lesser amount of time in prison. The plan is to avoid being convicted of anything. Unable to fulfill this plan, based on the evidence, Sarah has adopted a strategy of playing the victim. She acts as though she is not being treated fairly, no one is respecting her, and no one is listening to her. She is being denied her right to examine the evidence, and her attorneys are being mean to her. Everyone's treating her as if she has already been convicted, and she has been denied due process. Furthermore, that irritating principle, freedom of speech, is upsetting Sarah. She likes this concept as far as her own rights, but no other commentary is necessary on her case. This demand is placed by Sarah even as she behaves in a ridiculous fashion and draws more attention to herself. Sarah is not just playing defense, she's playing offense. She is a hero who is standing up against a corrupt system. Her efforts have exposed all these unprofessional, condescending, and hostile attorneys who unfairly refuse to live in a delusional world where Sarah is not guilty. How dare they behave in a truthful and ethical manner? Sarah understood that if she kept rejecting attorneys, she would have to represent herself, yet she claimed this was not an option. Perhaps she is hoping she can win on appeal. Like after she is convicted, she can argue that she was unfairly denied an attorney. If she only had an attorney, she would recognize how this was a bad strategy. Now moving to my final thoughts. One thing is for certain in this case. Sarah is not going to be able to effectively defend herself in court. There won't be a defense. Rather, Sarah will simply waste everyone's time. She wanted to know how and when she could defend herself. Sarah will never know how, but the when will be coming up soon enough. Those are my thoughts on the case of Sarah Boone. Please put any opinions or thoughts in the comment section. They consistently generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.